Welcome back to session 37. In the previous two sessions, I gave very specific analogies uh, aiming to help you to relate. But of course, Taoism teaching is never about anything specific. It's more on the high level for the strategic, for the bigger picture, for the broader view. But nevertheless, I did give the two analogies, for the purpose I just stated. But overall, the third sentence of the opening paragraph of Dao De Jing is not about any specifics like that. What I guess I would like to give a little more reference here to share of my own thought, my own personal take is we all know about Leonardo da Vinci, as history recorded, a quote unquote multi talented man, as we refer to today. But in the ancient Chinese history, all those credentialed Chinese royal court officials, each and every single one of them, was a poet because the exam actually would have to, they have to pass. Poetry was among many items of the exams. So they were all capable of making poetry. And of course, they all practice calligraphy because handwriting was required, for the court documents. And whether or not they were considered or they consider themselves as calligraphy artists, that's a totally different thing, but they all practice calligraphy. And a good portion of them also practice ink brush painting, and a lot of them were practicing music making as well. So on the artistic creation part, that was almost required. It's just a matter of whether they were good enough or not uh, to establish themselves with the artworks, or to emerge as the recognized talents. That's something else. And in the meantime, all of them were expected by the royal court of the Chinese empires to be able, you know, at any given time, to be commissioned on a project of civil engineering, of a mega project, or lead I guess expedition army to head for war game and came back with the victory, as they were placed in a position as the chief command or commander, uh, but less likely the position reserved for actual general. So what that means was the education in prep for the exams, pretty much dominated by the Confucianism, uh, and somewhat, Taoism in certain proportion. Um, they were all expected to be, quote unquote, multi-talented men, right? So this says a lot about the old school of Chinese education system that is already abandoned by the Chinese. So today, of course, the specialization is created here and there. So we see the curriculums, the courses, and then people become somewhat more, specialized. They were all some kind of subject, experts. Uh, is that bad? No. In the past century, it proved, it actually worked. But in 21st century, the life cycle span became significantly, shorter than the last century if you compare. So this actually required the people of 21st century to have that capability and capacity to deal with, you know, more than just one the specialization. Okay, and so just I guess one little reference I might be able to make here is, I just came out of one semester of teaching as a quote unquote adjunct lecturer. So the problem I saw was the program was absolutely not adequately preparing the students for the new era of completely digital, I guess at least the transformation to the digitalization, specifically for the students in the major of supply chain management at a college of technology. So when you thinking about the T for technology, right? Being in the supply chain management industry, you are looking at the entirely personless, totally automated logistics service facilities where only robots, exist. Um, that's one phenomenon. And then you have the autonomous crafts, such as the submarines and service, water service the vessels, and then the heavy load, heavy duty industrial trucks, autonomous, and the drones, airplanes fly themselves. Those are already reality, right? And then we, know about this, the Internet of Things and the 5G and, the blockchain technology for the document exchange in a more secured manner and channel. All that, the students were not exposed to any of that at all, right? So there's the problem. While Taoist teaching is telling us to have the people have more diversified and wider range structured knowledge, and of course to do that you got to have the interest that is diversified, which encouraged intellectual curiosity, on a broader range, so that after people, or the students coming out of the program, they can go on and extend their studies in self-guided studies today over the digital platform, which makes things a whole lot easier. But no, I did not see that. And it's a pity because a lot of students that I saw in my class, they were obviously disadvantaged group comparing to those, they were born and raised in a household where a lot of exposure simply were not either available or accessible. At least so appeared to me at the households of my students, because you can obviously see their mindset still, basically focused on the little teeny tiny things, and they're used to the spoon-fed, teaching the whole system. A better program should help them to open up their mind and to lead them to a more, I guess, a mindset that is basically to go for the broader view, the bigger picture, rather than contain themselves with the very specific things that the program designed for them and fed to them, spoon feeding. So anyway, that's I guess I just want to use this case as I guess case in point uh, to focus on what type of I guess students we are to roll out from our programs, if you will, at any given education institution. And so that is basically going back to the third sentence of the opening paragraph of Dao De Jing. So I don't really care about leader or follower. I mean, hey, in any given society, there are always some people somewhat more self perceived as the leader, or actually recognized by others as leader, and there are also some I guess more people falling into the category of if you label them as the follower, but I guess there are always some Indian and then a lot less chiefs, right? So I guess Taoist teaching is talking about how to become a leader, right? Of course, there's nothing wrong by living through your entire life as a follower. If you're happy, you're happy. That's really the bottom line, whatever it is. If you're happy, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, look at my pets. I feed them, and then I show them the affection, and they're satisfied. Do they have to know anything? No, they don't. Very simple life. They're happy, or at least so perceived. Uh, with this Taoism teaching, if you're a young parent today, how do you want your child grow up? They're totally two different, I guess, priorities. One is make sure that they're going to be happy, and do you really know what will make them happy when they're toddler, all the way until they turn like a senior citizen? If they make it, excuse me, do you even know as a young parent what makes you happy? What's the most important thing in your own life, right? So forget about that part. But let's say you want your kids to be happy. So there are many options. What makes them happy at this stage of their life, and then the next stage, and the next, and the next, it's constantly gonna change. So this person, you don't know exactly what's gonna make them happy always, all the way through their life, but you want to prepare them. So what can you do better? Well, remember I was talking about this disadvantaged group. So what can you do to introduce more exposure to your kids? So that they are exposed from very young, very early age. So this obviously we're talking about the preschool, the child development, which is not my specialization. I'm not going to get into there and make myself look like a fool. But I'm just saying, as a parent, you probably want to plan on this. Whereas we could see that with the East Asian parents, a lot of them, they drop their kids at kinder care place, and they ask about curriculum. And this is more like those fancier, kinder care places. The rich parents pay a lot more tuition. They ask about curriculum. So you can see the differences here, right? The Asian parents, a lot of them, they don't necessarily spend a lot of money on the, kinder care, but they do concern themselves with the curriculum, whatever is at the place they drop their kids. Beyond the Asian parents, I don't know if they show as much. At least in America, they show as much concern there. So you already see the difference there when I talk about disadvantage. It's not about a racial thing. A lot of people place label on like, oh, because I'm colored or because I'm whatever, so I'm disadvantaged. It's not that. I mean, hey, I was teaching at a university place, right? So I had a very culturally diversified class. I saw them all equally disadvantaged. Basically, you could tell it was not something that education could really do at that stage. Already, junior or senior American term for third year or fourth year in the university. Already there, not a whole lot you can do already. But so if you're the young parents today, try to focus on the exposure you can provide as a good part of upbringing for your kids to be a responsible parent and to make a big difference so the kid grow up. I'm not going to get into there, so I don't want this to sound like a lecture, but basically this is exactly what the third sentence of the opening paragraph Dr. Ding is talking about. Left brain, right brain, to develop at the same time and help. So the same person, even though received certain specialized academic training, does not mean, it would not click when the two totally seemingly irrelevant things, pass by. But it clicked with this guy or this girl, in the brain. Bang. Like, wow, maybe I can do something with this, right? So that's what this, I guess, at least my personal take, this third sentence was talking about. You need to be a complete man to live a full life with this well-diversified, intellectual curiosity and interest, in a much wider scope or range, and so structured knowledge body, in the, I guess, constant and proactive accumulation intuitively, as your life, goes. So that is what I personally, understand about the third sentence and how I, share with you. And I'm going to wrap up this session with the entire 7 sessions on the third sentence before we move on to the fourth one in the next session. So until then, ciao.